Today's video is about multi-step equations. So before we even start the video, let's just kind of talk about some general steps that you should follow in order to solve multi-step equations. The first thing you should look at are both sides simplified? So simplify both sides. That means that number one, you need to first distribute, and number two, you need to combine like terms. The second thing that we should do when we're solving equations, we should get all variables to one side. Get all variables to one side. And we'll talk about how to do that. Once you've gotten all your variables to one side, the next thing you should do is get all constants to one side. Constants, remember, are the numbers without variables. And the final thing that you should do is solve for variable. Once you've done all of that, the very last thing you should do is check your answer. Always check. So let's do our first example. We're going to go to step one. Simplify both sides. Now, what I want you to do is just kind of visualize. Okay, I'm going to draw a box here. But ask yourself, is this side right here simplified? Yes, there's just a -3, so I'm going to bring it down. -3. All right, then we're going to ask yourself, is this side simplified? No. Actually, I see some terms that we can combine. I don't see any distributing, but I see like terms. I see we have a +6 and a -7. So I'm going to bring down my x. A +6 and a -7 give you a -1. Now I'm going to look at both sides again. Is this side simplified? Yes. Is this side simplified? Yes, because x and -1 cannot be combined. So now I can go to the next step. Get all my variables to one side. Well, I only have x's. I have no x's over here. They're just here, so I'm done with that step. Get all constants to one side. I notice here that I have a -1 on the right side and a -3 on the other side. I want to get x alone, so I'm going to bring this -1 to this side. If I brought this over here, it's not helping me get x alone. So how do I undo a -1? I'm going to add 1 to both sides. -3 plus 1 is -2. I'm going to bring down my x, and -1 plus 1 is, those cancel out. Now my x is alone. I've solved for the variable. I think that x is -2. Now my last thing I should do is check. So I'm going to rewrite -3 equals x plus 6 minus 7. I think that x is -2, so I'm going to put -2 in for x. And let's see if that works. Notice I used parentheses when I substituted. Well, -2 plus 6 gives me a +4. And 4 minus 7 gives me -3. Because I got the same number on both sides, my check worked. So my answer is that x is -2. So let's do another example. Again, remember the first thing you want to do is ask yourself, are both sides simplified? So let's just look at the right side. Is the right side simplified? Yes, it's just one number, so I'm going to bring that down. -88. All right, is the left-hand side simplified? No. I see that there's some distributing that we can do. So I'm going to distribute this -8 to x and +5. So -8 times 8 is -8x. -8 times 5 is -40. Now I'm going to ask myself the same thing again. Is this side simplified? Yes. I can't combine -8 with -40. Is this side simplified? Yes. It's just a -88. Okay, now all my sides are simplified. And I'm going to try to get all my variables together. Well, there's only one term with a variable, so we're fine there. Now I want to try to get all of my constants together. My goal is to get x alone. So using reverse GEMDAS, I first need to get rid of negative 40, because remember, you're solving using reverse GEMDAS. So we're going to start addition and subtraction. Do you see any addition or subtraction to get rid of? Yes, minus 40. So I'm going to add 40 to both sides. These cancel. I'm left with negative 8 equals negative 88 plus 40, which is negative 48. I want to get x alone, and right now it's saying negative 8 times x. So to undo that, I'm going to divide by negative 8. And what negative 48 divided by negative 8 is a positive 6. So I think the answer is x equals 6, but just to be sure, I'm going to also check my answer. So I'm going to rewrite my original equation. Negative 8 x plus 5 equals negative 88. I'm going to rewrite and put 6 in for x. I'm going to make sure I use parentheses. Alright, let's see. 6 plus 5 is 11. And negative 8 times 11 is negative 88. I get that negative 88 equals negative 88. My check works. So my answer is x equals positive 6. Alright, let's do another example. Remember, the first thing that you should always do is ask yourself, are both sides simplified? So let's do the left-hand side first. Is this side simplified? No. You should notice that there's distributing that you need to do, and that there is also, we might have some terms to combine. Now, remember, you should always distribute first. So I'm going to do that first. 4 times negative 7 and 4 times negative 5. So 4 times negative 7 is 28x. I'm sorry, 4 times 7x. I'm sorry, not negative 7. 4 times a negative 5 is a negative 20. I'm not going to distribute this 4 to here because I only distribute to what's in the parentheses. So I'm going to bring down my 2x. Then I'm going to go back over here and say, okay, is this side simplified? Yes. It's just a 220, so I'm going to bring it down. Then I need to repeat the process again. Is this side simplified? Yes. Is this side simplified? No. Right now I have some terms that I could combine. I have like terms. I have a negative 20, and then I also have a 2x and a 28x, and I can combine those. So 28x and 2x is going to give me 30x minus 20. I'm going to bring down my circle, and the whole thing is going to equal 220. Now I'm going to look. Are both sides simplified? This side's just a 220. These are not like terms, so I'm good. Now we have a two-step equation. Remember, you want to get rid of addition and subtraction first because we're using reverse GEMDAS, or get your constants together. So to undo a minus 20, I'm going to add 20 to both sides. These cancel out. I'm left with 3x equals 220 plus 20 is 240. Now I see that we're saying 30 times x gives me 240. I'm saying, okay, how do I undo times 30? I'm going to divide by 30. 240 divided by 30 is 8. So I think that x is 8. Before I move on, I should check to make sure my answer is right. So I'm going to rewrite the equation that I was given originally, which was 4 parentheses 7x minus 5 plus 2x equals 220. Now, if we think that x is 8, we need to put an 8 in for every x. So 4 times 7 parentheses 8 minus 5. Close my parentheses. Notice these were parentheses there to begin with for me to stay. Plus 2 times x, which is 8. And let's see if that works. I'm going to punch into my calculator that whole entire thing. 4 parentheses. 7 times 8 minus 5, close my parentheses, plus 2 times 8. That gives me 220. So now we know that 220 equals 220. My check worked, so I must have done my equation correctly. Alright, now let's do a problem that's a little bit different. We're still going to use the same strategy though. So first we're going to ask ourselves, are both sides simplified? Alright, this is the left-hand side simplified. Yes, these are not like terms. Is the right-hand side simplified? Yes, these are not like terms. Okay, now our next step, if you refer back to the steps we wrote for the first problem, is that we need to get all of our variables together. What I notice about this problem is that there's n's on this side and there's n's on this side, and we need to put them together. Now, we can't just combine them like they're like terms. We can't just add 5n and n. That doesn't work because they're going to move across this line. And when they move across this line, we have to do the opposite. So you can move this n over here or this 5n over here. It does not matter. You'll get the same answer. You just need to make a decision. So I'm going to move this n over here. This is a positive 1n. To move your positive 1n, the whole thing to the left-hand side, you're going to do the opposite. Remember that the opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of multiplication is division. To move a positive 1n to the other side, I'm going to minus 1n. I'm going to minus 1n over here. Now, I want you to notice that I'm minusing 1n from the 5n and not from the 6. Why is that? These are like terms. I can't do 6 minus 1n. Those are not like terms. But these two both have n's, so I can do that. So I'm going to bring down my 6. 5n minus 1n is 4n. These cancel out, and I'm left with negative 6. Now, this has turned into a two-step equation. I need to get n alone. So first, I need to get rid of my addition and subtraction. Right now, we're adding a positive 6. So to undo that, I'm going to minus 6 from both sides. Bring down my 4n. Now I have that negative 6 minus 6, which gives me a negative 12. What's happening between 4 and n? Well, it's saying 4 times n. And how do you undo times n? You divide by 4. These 4's cancel, and I'm left with n equals negative 12 divided by 4, which is negative 3. So I think n is negative 3. Now, just like before, let's check our answer. I'm going to rewrite the original equation. 6 plus 5n equals n minus 6. Now in this example, we think n is negative 3, and n is on both sides, so we're going to plug it into both sides. 6 plus 5 times negative 3, and then negative 3 minus 6. Let's simplify both sides. So on this side, I'm going to type 6 plus 5 times negative 3, which is negative 9. Let's try the other side. Negative 3 minus 6, which gives me a negative 9. If I have that negative 9 equals negative 9, I've done my work correctly, and my check works. So my solution is n equals negative 3. Alright, so we're getting to a couple of examples that are going to start combining a lot of the different strategies we just used. If you are still uneasy, I want you to go back and watch examples 1 through 4 again and really look at what it is that you're doing. Remember, if you have questions, write them down, and when you come into class, we can answer them. So, it wants you to solve an equation. Remember, the first thing you should do is ask yourself, are both sides simplified? So look at the left-hand side. Is this side simplified? No, I see distributing. I can do this 6 times a, and 6 times 5. So let's do that. 6 times a is 6a. 6 times a positive 5 is a positive 30. All right, let's look at the other side. Is the other side simplified? Well, I have a negative 18 and then a minus 2a. Those are not like terms, so those are simplified. I'm going to bring them down. Let's just double check both sides one more time. Is this side simplified? Yes. 6a and 30 are not like terms. I cannot combine them. Is this side simplified? Yes. Negative 18 and minus 2a are not like terms. I cannot combine them. So both sides are simplified. Our next goal is to get our variables together. You should notice that I have an a over here and an a over here. I can't just combine them because they're not on the same side. I have to move them back and forth. You can move this over here or you can move this over here. It does not matter. So I'm going to move the negative 2a to the other side by adding 2a. You remember, you want to do the opposite. And notice I'm moving the entire 2a. So 6a plus 2a is 8a. Remember, I'm adding the a's together. I'm not going to add the a to the 30. I'm going to bring down my plus 30. This negative 18 is going to come down, and this is going to cancel. So now this is a two-step equation that we're going to use to solve using reverse Shamdas. So first, let's get rid of our addition and subtraction. So to undo my plus 30, I'm going to minus 30. The 8a I'm going to bring down. 30 minus 30 cancels out. And negative 18 minus 30 is negative 48. I still need to get a alone. And right now I have 8 times a. So to undo 8 times a, I'm going to divide by 8. And negative 48 divided by 8 is negative 6. These 8's cancel. So a, and negative 48 divided by 8 is negative 6. Let's check our work. Remember, use your original equation. 6 times a plus 5 is equal to negative 18 minus 2a. So 6 times a is 6a. 6 times 5, what am I doing wrong here? Oh, I forgot to plug in my value that I got for x. Sometimes we get so distracted that we don't realize what we're doing. We're just checking. We already know that a is negative 6. So let's replace our a values with negative 6. So every time I see an a, I'm going to put negative 6 plus 5. Negative 18 minus 2, and I think a is negative 6. So let's see if it works. 6, parentheses, negative 6 plus 5 gives me negative 6. See if the other side works. If I do negative 18 minus 2 times negative 6, I get negative 6. My two sides check. They both are negative 6. So I did my equation right. And a is negative 6. Alright, let's do one more example. So, in this example, we're going to follow the same steps. So the first thing we want to ask ourselves are both sides simplified? So let's look at the left-hand side. Are both sides simplified? No. I actually see some distributing I can do. 2 times 6 gives me 12. And 2 times a negative 3 gives me a negative 6k. Alright? Let's check the other side. Is this side simplified? No, I see some distributing. 6 times k is 6k. 6 times 24 is a positive 24. Now just to make sure, let's make sure there's no like terms. Is this side simplified? Yes, these are not like terms. Is this side simplified? Yes, these are not like terms. Okay. Now our next goal is to get our variables together. Now I've been bringing this one over here, so I'm going to bring this one over here sometime to show you that it works. Remember, I want to bring my k's together, so I need to do the opposite. This is saying minus 6k, so I'm going to add 6k. These cancel out. I'm going to bring down my 12. Now, 6k plus 6k gives me 12k. I bring down my 24. Now, I can see a two-step equation, and I'm going to solve that using reverse GEMDAS. So I'm going to start at the bottom, get rid of my plus 24 first. So how do I undo plus 24? I'm going to minus 24. 12 minus 24 is a negative 12. Bring down my 12k. 24 minus 24 is 0. That cancels out. Now I still need to get k alone, and I know that in between here is 12 times k. How do you undo 12 times k? You divide by k. Divide by 12. Negative 12 divided by 12 is negative 1. These 12s cancel out. I'm left with k. So now I think k is negative 1, but just to be sure, I should check my answer. Let's go ahead and check. I'm going to rewrite the original equation. 2 times 6 minus 3k is equal to 6 times k plus 4. Alright, let's check. Every time I see a k, I'm going to put in negative 1. And that's going to be equal to 6 times negative 1 plus 4. Oops, I forgot to use my parentheses to put it in. Alright, let's simplify the left side. So we have 6 parentheses. We have 2 parentheses. 6 minus 3 times negative 1, which gives us a positive 18. And on this side, we have 6 times parentheses negative 1 plus 4, which gives us a positive 18. Our check worked, so k is negative 1. Alright, we've gone through a couple of different examples. So what I want you to do right now is pause the video, try these 5 different problems, and then see if you've got it. If you haven't, remember you should check after each one. You should know if you're right. If you don't get the check and it doesn't work, go back, look at your work, and see if you can see what you did wrong. When you're ready for the answers, press play. Alright, here are the solutions to your equation. So you should have that x is negative 3. You should have that n is 8. P is 8. X is negative 7. And x is negative 3. If you get stuck, make sure that you write down any questions you may have to ask your teacher when you get back to class.